There is a space inside the Great Pyramid, at least 30 meters long, that no one has entered in 4,500 years. No door leads to it. Physicists found it by catching particles that fall from space. The Great Pyramid is the most studied building on Earth. It has been measured, mapped, drawn, drilled into, and crawled through for centuries. Every passage has a name, and every chamber has 100 years of literature. If any structure on the planet had given up its last secret, it should be this one. Then, in November 2017, a team of physicists from Japan, France, and Egypt published a paper in the journal Nature announcing that the most famous building in the world contains a void nobody knew existed. Not a crack between blocks, not a settling gap, a coherent empty space at least 30 meters long, sitting directly above the Grand Gallery, sealed inside 6 million tons of stone. They did not find it by digging. Nobody drilled a hole, moved a block, or so much as scratched the monument. They found it by standing in the pyramid's chambers and counting rain from space. 9 years later, the measurements have only gotten firmer, and the question has only gotten louder. What is that space, and why can no one tell us what it's for? Start with the problem. The Great Pyramid was raised around 2560 BC for the pharaoh Khufu from more than 2 million blocks of stone. For nearly 4,000 years, it was the tallest thing human beings had ever built. You cannot X-ray it. No machine on Earth sees through 100 meters of solid stone. You cannot take it apart. It is the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. For most of history, the inside you could know was the inside you could crawl into. 3 chambers, a gallery, a handful of shafts and passages, and silence. But the universe mass-produces a particle that treats stone as an inconvenience. Kilometers up, cosmic rays slam into the atmosphere and shatter into muons, heavier cousins of the electron, falling at nearly the speed of light. They arrive everywhere, all day, every day. Hundreds pass through your body every minute. Rock, though, slowly eats them. Send muons through that much limestone and some are absorbed. Send them through emptiness and none are. Place a detector low inside a structure, count the muons arriving from each direction, and the structure photographs itself. Too many muons from one direction means too little stone in the way. It is a shadow picture drawn by the sky itself. The same technique now used to see inside volcanoes and the melted cores of failed reactors. The idea has a history at Giza. In the late 1960s, the Nobel laureate Luis Alvarez installed muon detectors in a chamber beneath the Pyramid of Khafre, next door, hunting for hidden chambers, and scanned about a fifth of the structure and found nothing at all. A null result, and quietly a proof. The method would have seen a chamber if one were there. Then the technique waited half a century for its second chance. In 2015, it got one. A project called Scan Pyramids, Cairo University, a French heritage institute, and physics teams from Japan and France, working under Egypt's Antiquities Ministry, began pointing everything non-invasive they had at the pyramids of Giza. Infrared cameras and 3 different kinds of muon detector. Within 2 years, the building that had nothing left to give gave up the biggest thing it had hidden. The first hint was heat. A wall with emptiness behind it warms and cools on a different schedule than solid masonry, and watching the pyramid breathe through dawn after dawn, the thermal cameras flagged a patch of blocks on the north face, just above the original entrance, running warmer than its neighbors. Something behind those stones was not solid. Then came the muons. The Japanese team laid nuclear emulsion films, sheets of photographic film that record the track of every particle passing through them, on the floor of the Queen's chamber and left them in the dark for months. Developed, the films held millions of muon tracks, and from one region, above the Grand Gallery, too many had arrived. More muons means less stone. Somewhere overhead, the pyramid was hollow. Here is what separates this from a century of pyramid rumors. They refused to trust it. The result was checked with a second technology, electronic scintillator detectors from a Japanese particle physics laboratory watching from the same deep interior. Then a third, gas-filled muon telescopes from the French Atomic Energy Commission aimed at the pyramid from outside. 3 detector technologies, 3 teams, analyzing independently. 3 shadows, all agreeing on the same emptiness. In November 2017, Nature published the result, and the physicists named it with deliberate plainness: the Big Void. At least 30 meters long, a cross-section comparable to the Grand Gallery itself, which stands 8.5 meters high. Directly above the gallery, deep in the core, with no known passage anywhere near it. It was the first major structure found inside the Great Pyramid since the 1830s. The most studied building on Earth had kept a 30-meter secret for 4,500 years. And before you fill that emptiness with treasure, you should know what Giza has already done to people who saw things underground. Because Giza punishes assumptions. In the late 1970s, survey teams ran electric current and seismic soundings through the bedrock around the Sphinx, and the readings went strange near the pores. The anomalies were real. What grew out of them was not. The legend of a sealed hall of records beneath the Sphinx, an old psychic's prophecy from the 1930s dressed up in borrowed instruments. Follow-up work found what weathered limestone always offers: natural fissures and water-cut hollows. At Giza, an anomaly is not a chamber, and a shadow is not a door. That is why the physicists refuse to even call the Big Void a chamber. And it is why their next find matters. It shows what honest resolution looks like. In 2023, the team published again, behind the chevron blocks on the north face, the exact patch the thermal cameras had flagged 8 years earlier. The muons had resolved a corridor-shaped void, 9 meters long and about 2 meters across. This time, there was a gap between the stones just wide enough for an endoscope camera. It snakes through, and for the first time since the pyramid was sealed, human eyes see inside, a bare corridor of rough blocks under a peaked stone ceiling. Empty. No treasure, no inscriptions, no doorway onward. Most experts now read it as a relieving structure, spreading the pyramid's weight away from the entrance below, though why it was built with this much care is still argued. Found, seen, and mostly explained. That is the method working. The Big Void is not that story. There is no gap anywhere to slip a camera through, and every path to an explanation splits. It could be another relieving device, sparing the Grand Gallery's ceiling, the mountain above it, though nothing else in the pyramid relieves weight that way. It could be construction logistics, the fossil of a ramp or working space the builders left inside the finished monument, or it could be a deliberate space that meant something, built for a purpose no surviving text describes. Even its shape is unsettled, one long void, or several stacked in sequence, lying level or climbing at an angle like the gallery beneath it. Some senior Egyptologists still shrug at all of it. The core masonry is rough and full of gaps, they argue, so emptiness should surprise no one. The physicists answer with the data: random gaps scatter. This signal is one coherent absence, seen from 3 directions at once. Every one of these readings is an educated guess. None of them is an answer. And here is the bind. The one way to know is to go in, and the one thing nobody may do is make a way in. The pyramid survived 45 centuries of treasure hunters. It will not now be drilled to settle a physics paper. The deepest hiding place at Giza turned out to be in plain sight, above the tourists' heads, behind a few meters of stone, with the whole world watching and no way in. The Big Void will give up eventually. The detectors only get sharper, the exposures only get longer, and stone, in the end, cannot keep secrets from physics. The answer is a matter of patience, but not every wall is made of stone. In the Bay of Bengal, there is a small green island ringed by a white collar of reef, and the country that owns it forbids anyone, by law, from going near. Its people have turned away every visitor for as long as records exist. When a helicopter flew low over the beach there after the 2004 tsunami, a lone figure stepped out of the tree line and aimed an arrow up at the machine. They need no rescue. They want no contact. It is the one place on Earth science is not allowed to look. It's called North Sentinel Island, and that story is next. And if tonight's mystery held you, a like helps more people find the deep past, and subscribing brings you a new story every week. I'll see you down there.